Hi everybody, welcome to True Fan Forum. I'm your host Jay, and in this video I want to talk a bit about the brand new Marvel comic book, Werewolf by Night. Now, for any of you who might be familiar with the name, let me tell you right off the bat that this is not the original Werewolf by Night, a man named Jack Russell. Rather, it is a brand new character named Jake, who I will talk a little bit more about in just a moment. But before I do that, allow me to tell you who created this comic book. It was written by Taboo of the Black Eyed Peas and B. Earl. I'm not sure who that is. Art was done by Scott Eaton. Inks were done by Scott Hanna. And color art was done by, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this name right, Miroslav Merva. Yep. Now, letters were done by VC's Joe Sabino. And the cover was done by Mike McCone and Jason Keefe, with variant covers done by Takashi Okazaki and Edgar Delgado, Jeffrey Veragay, another name I'm not sure how to pronounce, Mike Plug, and Maury Hollowell. It was edited by Jake Thomas, and special thanks were given to Vince and Dolores Schilling and J.C. Shelton Jr., who I believe provided information on Native American cultures, which is actually an important part of this comic book. Now, as I said just a few seconds ago, this Werewolf by Night is a new character named Jake. Now, Jake is a 17-year-old Native American lad living on the Hopi Reservation in Arizona. But like Jack Russell, his lycanthropy is something he inherited from his family. Apparently, they've been werewolves stretching back, I'm not sure how many generations. But there are a couple of things about his lycanthropy that separate him from both Jack Russell and other werewolves I've read about in my admittedly limited experience reading about werewolves in comics. Now, first off, while Jake does transform at night, his transformations are not tied to the moon or its various phases. Rather, his transformations are tied to his emotions. Anger, fear, hunger, or really strong emotions can cause him to change. And by controlling his emotions, allow him to not only change into a werewolf, but change back into a human. And apparently, music really affects his transformations and allows him to maintain control and change back and forth. Now, I like the idea of music being a factor in his transformations. It's interesting, it's unique, sort of a music half charms to soothe the savage beast. And plus, it seems fitting considering one of the writers of this comic book is involved in music. He's a musician, rapper, but whatever he is, it kind of feels like it makes sense that he would include music since music is such a big part of his life. So I like that. Another thing that makes his lycanthropy unique is that even when he's human, he still has superhuman senses, which is something I'm not sure other werewolves have. So really, I like the fact they took the standard model of the werewolf, but played around with it and tweaked it a little bit and made him unique. Now, at this point in this, I believe there are only two people who are aware of Jake's condition. They are his grandmother, Rosa, and his girlfriend, Molly. Now, these two women are really his foundation, his emotional backbone. They provide him with guidance and support. They try to help him understand his condition and new ways he can control himself so that he doesn't lose control. He doesn't give in to his animal instincts and end up hurting them or anyone around him. Now, I don't want to tell you too much about the plot. At least let me give you a brief synopsis so you have some idea of what's going on. Now, Jake and his girlfriend Molly are investigating Life Pharmaceuticals, a company that has set up a research building in the desert, seemingly close to their reservation. Now, even though they are a pharmaceutical company, they have hired what appear to be heavily armed mercenaries as their security. Mercenaries who seem to enjoy spending their free time going to the desert and shooting at small, cute animals with all manner of guns, including, I think that's like a .50 caliber gun in the truck. All the while drinking beer. Yeah, let me tell you folks, beer or any kind of alcohol and guns, never a good mix. I do not recommend it. So yeah, a company that goes to such lengths for security, especially a pharmaceutical company, is probably up to no good. Now, one interesting little complication into Jake's investigation of Life Pharmaceuticals, is that they are his employer. So if they are up to no good and he takes them down, he's going to end up unemployed. Yeah, really, who said being a hero was... Now, I have to say that after reading this comic book a couple of times and really digging into it, I've really enjoyed myself. It's a very good comic book. I like the characters in the comic book. Jake is a really interesting character because he's got a lot of conflict going on. I mean, he's a teenager, he's a Native American, he's a werewolf. I mean, that's a lot to put on someone so young. I really enjoy the characters of Molly and Rora, his grandmother, because they had a bit of humor. They had a bit of heart, and Rora in particular is funny because not only does she complain about Jake leaving too much fur in the drain and causing a bad clog, she, like a lot of grandmothers, are wondering just exactly when Jake and Molly are going to get married and give her some great grandbabies. Oh man, I tell you, that's a funny line. But really, I think it's a good story. Another interesting aspect of the story I like and the characters is Jake's relationship with his father. Now, while his father is not in the comic book, he is only mentioned, you really get the feeling that relationship between him and Jake are strained. Because apparently, and again, this is only from some references, he's not a really good guy. I don't know exactly what's wrong with him, but yeah, apparently he's a jerk. And I think he's also a werewolf. Now, how that affects his personality, if he's allowed himself to, give in to his animal instincts or he's become a danger is not known. And hopefully I find out more about the character. I hope we get to see him in the comic book. I hope to see his and Jake's relationship develop more because it's a very interesting idea and I want to see more of it. Now the artwork I thought was pretty good. Solid effort by Mr. Eaton. One thing I like is when we see Jake as the werewolf for the first time. I mean, that is just so awesome. I mean, he is huge and he is fierce. I mean, if I saw this guy anywhere, I'd be hightailing it the other way, screaming my head off. So that is a really cool image. I do have to say that I do find a couple of the facial expressions a bit in this comic book a bit flat. Some of the backgrounds are also a bit flat, but overall, good artwork. I really enjoy it. It really captures my eye. Just seeing Jake as a werewolf is awesome. I love that look. When I first saw, ads for the comic book and other comic books, just that visual of Jake as a werewolf really drew me in. I love the design of it. Another thing about this comic book that I love is the fact that Jake is a Native American. Because Native Americans, while they have appeared in comic books in some capacity, you really don't see them too much. So any chance to include them in a comic book is just fine with me. Oh, speaking of including Native American characters, I should mention that Werewolf is in this comic book. There he is. Now, while there have been a couple of people I know named Werewolf, this is the most, current one. The Werewolf that appeared in the Secret Wars tie-in comic 1872, he had his own short-lived series after Secret Wars, which I do have, and I believe he was also part of Occupy Avengers. So it's cool seeing him in there. I do enjoy the character, so any chance for him to be in a comic book is a plus by me. I'll be trying to see. It'd be cool to see how much of an impact he has in this comic book, how he interacts with Jake. So again, really fun to see him there. Now speaking of Native American cultures, another thing I like is the fact that that Taboo and B. Earl really sought to get some consultation by people who actually know Native American cultures, particularly the Hopi culture, because it really gives you a sense of authenticity and allows both the writing and the art to add little touches. For example, in Rora's living room, we can see on her mantle, I believe they're called I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Kachina dolls? I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. So again, that's just a nice little detail that I noticed. I've heard about the Hopi Indians in other media. I've heard about the dolls. So again, seeing that is cool, and I do like that they sought to add authenticity and not just kind of fall into stereotypes or just make stuff up just because it's a comic book. I'm glad they are respecting Native American cultures by, wanting to portray them accurately, at least as much as comic books portray anybody accurately. So yeah, overall, I think this was a good comic book. I like the characters. I like the mystery. I like the relationships between the characters. Like I said, I hope to see more of Jake and his father's relationship. I hope to see his father in future issues and kind of get a better understanding of just how bad he is, and could he be a potential villain? Who knows? Again, that's why I want to see more of it. So I think this is a really good effort. Now, before I end this video, I do want to talk a bit about the writers, because it is interesting that Taboo and B. Earl, from my understanding, really aren't experienced comic book writers or perhaps writers in general. Now, while some might be upset that people who don't have a lot of experience writing comic books are writing comic books, I'm not that opinion, because I'm the type of guy that I will give people a chance to do something they perhaps are not known for. Because I don't believe just because you're known for one thing, you can't do something else. It'd be like saying because Robin Williams was known for comedies, he could not do dramatic films, which would be a crying shame because Robin Williams was just brilliant as an actor in both comedies and dramas. So yes, I'm willing to give people a chance. I'm willing to let them show what they can do and go from there. And so far, I like what they've done in this comic book. I find it an interesting story. I want to see more. And I'm definitely going to buy the subsequent issues. And I hope they keep it up, because they seem to have some talent and you seem to have some care about storytelling and characters. So I say congratulations to Taboo and B. Earl. I think they did a fine job. And yeah, I'm not going to complain just because, they don't have a lot of experience writing comic books or writing in general. Like I said, we all have to start somewhere, and why not? So congratulations to them. I hope to see more either in this comic book or perhaps other comic books or other writing ventures. So I guess that's it, folks. A good strong effort, and one that's really have me interested to read more. Oh, so what do you think about this comic book? Do you like it? Do you not like it? What do you think about relatively unknown people in the newcomers to comic books, writing or drawing art or doing anything? Please, feel free to leave comments below and like and share and subscribe. Do all that fun stuff. I would really, really appreciate it. So thank you guys, and I'll see you next time.